Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room and you will not think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch did not exist. When the sun set, the world went dark. Completely, totally dark. And something old inside you still remembers what that meant. You know the feeling. Walking down a hallway at night and reaching for the light switch a little too quickly. Sleeping better with a lamp on in an unfamiliar room. A small irrational spike of unease when the power goes out. You tell yourself it is silly. There is nothing there. But the feeling does not care what you tell yourself. So where does this come from? Not from horror movies, not from campfire stories about monsters. Those came later, built on top of something that was already there. The real answer reaches back far deeper than culture. It reaches into the biology of what it meant to be a soft, slow, poorly armed primate on a planet full of things that could kill you in the dark. Picture the world your ancestors actually lived in, not the sanitized version in museum dioramas. A world with no walls, no locked doors, no streetlights. A world where large cats hunted primarily at night, using darkness the way a fisherman uses a net. Human eyes are built for daylight. Human night vision is mediocre at best. In the dark, you lose your single greatest advantage, which is sight, and you become something closer to prey than predator. The anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy has written extensively about the intense vulnerability of early hominins, especially at night, when the ability to see threats coming disappeared almost entirely. Her research on primate survival strategies points again and again to nighttime as the period of greatest exposure. A predator could approach silently. It could be inches away before anything gave it away. The only real defenses your ancestors had were fire, numbers, and fear. That last one is easy to overlook. Fear does not sound like a defense. It sounds like a weakness. But think about what fear actually does. It keeps you still. It sharpens your hearing. It makes you check the shadows twice instead of once. A hominin with zero fear of the dark walked confidently into open ground at night and simply did not come back to pass on that fearlessness. A hominin with a healthy, nagging dread of darkness stayed close to the fire, stayed near the group, and lived to have children. You are descended from the anxious ones, not the brave ones. Here is where it gets stranger. Fear of the dark is not really fear of darkness itself. Darkness is just an absence of photons. It cannot hurt you. What you are actually afraid of is uncertainty about what might be in the darkness. Psychologists studying fear responses, including work associated with Joseph Ledoux on the neuroscience of fear, have shown that the brain's threat detection system, centered in a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, does not need to confirm a real threat to activate. It only needs ambiguity, a shape that might be a person, a sound that might be footsteps. The amygdala fires first and asks questions later, because in an ancestral environment, the cost of a false alarm was minor and the cost of missing a real predator was fatal. This is why an empty dark room can feel charged with tension even though you know logically that nothing is there. Your rational brain has the information. Your amygdala does not care about your rational brain. It evolved millions of years before language, before logic, before the part of you capable of saying out loud, there is nothing to be afraid of. Notice something else. Children are often more afraid of the dark than adults, and this fear tends to peak around ages 3 to 6, right around the time a child becomes mobile and curious enough to wander off from the group, but not yet experienced enough to judge real danger accurately. Some developmental psychologists view this as a built-in safety mechanism, a kind of temporary automatic caution installed at exactly the age when a small human is most likely to get itself into serious trouble unsupervised. The fear fades for most people as reasoning develops and the environment proves itself safer than the ancient template assumed, but it never fully disappears. It just gets quieter. Think about what modern life did to this ancient system. You now live in a world engineered for constant light. Street lights, phone screens, night lights in hallways, cities that glow orange against the sky from miles away. You have, in a real sense, defeated the darkness that shaped this fear in the first place. And yet the fear persists, faint but present, in nearly every human being, in nearly every culture, regardless of how safe their actual environment has become. That persistence tells you something important. Fear of the dark is not a bug in your psychology. It is a feature that outlived the problem it was built to solve. Your amygdala did not get the memo that streetlights were invented. It is still running code optimized for a world of nighttime predators, a world most of you will never actually encounter. There is a strange kind of comfort in understanding this. That flicker of unease when you walk into an unlit room is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that something in you is working exactly the way millions of years of selection built it to work. Every ancestor who felt a little too nervous in the dark and stayed close to the fire is in some sense still speaking through you every single night. So tonight, when the sun goes down, notice what happens the moment before your hand finds the light switch. Notice the small automatic pull to fill the room with light before your rational mind even has time to ask why. That is not fear of darkness. That is millions of years of ancestors who did not make it through the night, whispering very quietly that the dark used to mean something and some part of you has never quite forgotten.